Welcome back to the channel. So let's talk about why I sold my Africa Twin after having it for a few years, and do I regret it? So yes, that space right there is where that beautiful machine used to occupy, and I've had it for a few years. So today we're going to cover why I sold it, do I regret it, was it a mistake? So I think the best place to talk about it is some dirt trails. So let's get out there and go over why. It has been a hot minute since I've vlogged on this bike, and I pulled over to set up the camera, and I gotta say, dirt bike people are the best. I was just standing next to my bike and two of them rolled by and stopped to make sure I was okay, so that's awesome. Anyway, so I wanted to give you some context about my situation, and also just to catch you guys up on my life, because it has definitely been a little while since I've uploaded or made a video. And that also kind of plays into the whole Africa Twin thing a little bit. But just in case you want to skip straight to the reasoning, feel free to use the chapters below, and I'll make that an option so you don't have to sit through the life update if you don't want it. But essentially, in a nutshell, I work a few different jobs, and one of them gets real seasonal. So I don't always get to make as many videos as I would like in the fall. For those of you who watch the channel, you guys know that I bought a Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, and I've been enjoying that. And I'm a little over 1,000 miles into that bike now. I bought that earlier this year, and that's around the time I also sold the Africa Twin. So before I get into why I sold it, let's talk about why I bought the bike in the first place. So I actually purchased it a few years ago, and that was the whole point of buying it was for the New Mexico backcountry discovery route. And doing a BDR is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I really had to be methodical with the bike purchase, because it had to have the range involved that is required for the New Mexico BDR. There's some sections of the BDR here in New Mexico that are over 200 miles between gas stations, and one gas station in particular is kind of notorious for not always being open. So anyway, the Africa Twin seemed to fit the bill, decent sized gas tank. I'm a big DCT fan too. I've had a previous bike that had the DCT, and so it just seemed like it would be perfect. And it is a great bike, and I purchased it right before I planned to do sections 1, 2, 3 of the BDR. And what happened was, almost immediately after purchasing it, I got it all decked out with bags and all that, and crash protection. And then I saw this bike, this XT250, pop up on Marketplace, and it was in Silverton or Ouray, Colorado. So, and this one was also decked out in a similar way with you know, has a couple roto packs, for one for water, one for gas. So because of that, it had similar, or if not greater, range. And oh, there's a coyote up there. I don't know if we'll pass by it, but and also it has some heated grips and bags. Fast forward a few years later, and I'm still using the Africa Twin a lot. But what ended up happening is I took this bike on the BDR. I did it in a few different sections, and the first section, sections like 1, 2, 3 or something like that, I took this bike, and it did so well, and there was no obstacle I was nervous about at all on the whole route because of that. And I was like, man, that feeling alone is worth any compromise. And so, as you know, you're looking between, if you're doing adventure style riding or dual sport style riding, you're going to have to compromise either on the highway, or you're going to be compromising in the dirt or on trails like this. In my mind, it brought me greater peace of mind overall to have that confidence in the dirt, where I'm overwhelmingly just less experienced, and knowing that there's nothing I'm going to be nervous to get through because of how light and small this bike is. And there's nothing I really can't get through, to my knowledge. I haven't really hit anything yet that I can't get through, including single track and stuff like that. And that confidence alone, especially in remote areas of the state where the BDR goes, was greater and brought me more peace of mind than the highway comfort. To me, the whole highway comfort and having to wring out the bike a little bit to get it up to the right speed and not having as much passing power and things like that, that paled in comparison. So anyway, I ended up taking this guy on the backcountry discovery route, and I did the middle section of the state as well, and this last summer I just did the northern half, so I finished it. And so the original purpose of the Africa Twin already kind of flew out the window, but man, did I still love that bike. I still do. It's a great machine. Its ergonomics are just so good. It's got that adjustable seat, 2 heights, and I always like the low height because with that I could almost flat foot it. And so super comfortable, good wind protection. I even had the OEM heated hand grips installed on it. Good gas mileage, or decent at least. I had some nice bags on it and a top case, so it was really set up well. Some nice Outback Motortech crash protection. But because every time I wanted to go out and explore, especially if it was somewhere I did not know what I was going to hit, I went for a dual sport of some kind, whether it was this or that rally in my garage. And I just wasn't going for the Africa Twin. And I would ride the Africa Twin quite a lot though. I commute a lot on my bikes, and I would always take the Africa Twin. But man, I kept thinking, this is nuts. This is the most expensive commuter bike I've ever owned. So yeah, hit me in the comments with everything about how I suck at riding. I know. There's all those videos of those guys taking the Africa Twin out on dirt roads and off jumps and doing these crazy things with it. That's great. That's not me. My focus is exploring and enjoying scenery and just being safe and cruising. So that was overall one of the big driving factors. Used it a lot, but just for commuting, and other bikes did that just as well. All right guys, check out this view. Yeah, it's littered with trash unfortunately, but still pretty cool. I actually did a video on this place previously. If you want to check it out, it's called La Ceja, I believe. I'll have to double check that, but pretty neat place. So yeah, the thing that's cool about this place is, you know, you can just kind of go anywhere, and the trail gets real like whoops and stuff. It's really fun. And I took the rally out here, and that was a blast as well. So before I talk about the main reason why I sold it, I actually it's kind of funny. I sold the bike, I listed it, and I wanted to tell you guys about that because it was actually these two dudes. They were nuts, like in a good way though. They were hilarious. So I listed the bike, and then this guy reached out and just, first thing is this guy reached out and he's like, hey, would you take, and he offered like $3 grand underneath like what I had listed, and I was like, what? No, I won't. But I countered with a normal reasonable offer, and never heard from him again. And then like a week later I heard from a different guy, and he came in just a little bit under, but not much, close to that other number I had sent the other guy. And come to find out that these two guys show up to buy the bike. It's the second guy I was talking to, but these two guys show up and they're like, oh yeah, my friend lowballed you first just to see what you could get for the bike, just to see if you would come down a little bit. Which I thought was hilarious. And I was like, you know, I can't even be mad at that. All right, this is a section of the trail that I love. It's so fun. Woo! Yeah, and you know what's cool about this place is there's never anyone out here. Just absolutely love, I mean, I say that and watch, there's gonna be some dirt bikers, but usually there's like no one out here, and I don't understand it. It's beautiful and fun. So going back to the bros who bought the Africa Twin, oh god, they show up, and they're just, their whole thing was so interesting to me. So they were working down in the Gila, which is a big national forest in the kind of the western area of New Mexico, bordering Arizona, and that's hours away. They drove up to Albuquerque just to get the bike. They have a truck. It's not even a huge truck, it's just kind of like a regular truck, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna load the bike into the back of that and just drive off. There was no ramp. And oh, I forgot to mention, there was all kinds of stuff in the bed of the truck, like a big tool chest and like a generator thing, and there was like no room for the bike. I was like, where the hell is it gonna go? But And then I was like, also, this thing weighs over 500 pounds. You're just gonna, how are you gonna get it up there? And I told him, I was like, I can help, but I can't be responsible for like what happens with loading it after. And but I'll help, you know, let's get the deal done first. So they said, oh no, yeah, we got this. And so they paid, and man, I didn't really do much because they just had it down. I don't know, I've never seen a bike that heavy just manhandled and lifted into the back of a truck like that. I mean, no ramp, one wheel up, then the other. That thing's heavy too, with all the crash guards on it. And then they positioned it on this corner of the truck bed, this tiny little corner they had left. And oh, did I mention it was a flatbed too? It wasn't particularly big, but it was just like a flat bed. There was no sides to it, so just had to strap it down good and hope for the best. And then they just drove off. It was nuts. But total respect for them, because they knew what they were doing. I've never seen anything like that in my life, and so they just it was funny. But so that was the story of the Africa Twin. And so their plan was to just take it down to the area they were doing some, I don't know if it was trail work or some repair work down in the Gila, but they said they just needed some ADV bikes to go just thrash around on the trails down there. They were working there all summer apparently, so more power to them. And I'm glad that the bike is being used by riders that are probably way more capable than I am. The main reason why I sold the Africa Twin, and it pains me to say it, I am a Honda fanboy to the max. There is just no doubt about it. So it really hurts me to say this one. They got some problems with their throttle and DCT. I've had 2 DCT bikes now, and both had issues. So in brief, the first one was the NM4 Voltus, which is, I'll put a picture of it on the screen. It is quite the bike. Essentially a big scooter, but I love that thing. However, what started happening with that, I'd say about 1,000 miles in, is I would be sitting there and the bike would just start going. Like, I'm not talking about, so you know, it's like an automatic because it's DCT, so it's like when your car's in neutral or first gear. If you're in first gear and you lift off your foot off the brake, the car's going to just barely go forward a little bit, right? No, it would start going. There was definitely some sort of problem with the throttle positioning sensor or the DCT or something. I don't know, but it was kind of scary, you know, in first gear. And the thing is, I had that bike, and for 1,000 miles, no issues. It would just do normal automatic transmission things. I was in first gear like this, and if I just kind of let go, it would just start creeping like a car would, just barely. But no, after it started having that problem, first gear, and all of a sudden, whoop, we're going. So that was sketch. And then with the Africa Twin, since I got the bike, I would have this issue where I'm in first gear and I'm stopped, and I would, as soon as I gave it gas, didn't matter if it was a lot of gas or a little bit of gas, it would die. And it did that every few weeks, maybe once a month, but consistently. And it didn't seem to correlate with whether the engine was cold or not, or whether the weather was cold or not, or whether the bike was in sport mode or drive or any of the other modes, sport 1, 2, 3. It didn't seem to correlate with any of that. It just did it randomly. I even had them take a look at it at the dealership, and I actually bought the warranty on a Honda. I never do that because of that issue happening right off the gate. And it just kept happening, and they couldn't find anything wrong with it. Dealership looked at it a couple of times, and I recorded it one time. Luckily, I caught it on camera, but they just couldn't fix it. It was so sporadic enough, but it was consistent enough that it was annoying, but it was sporadic enough that most times when I took it to the dealership, they're like, we just, minus your video, we don't really see what's going on with it. So I was like, this is not a road I'm going down. So kind of what I was saying earlier, I work a couple of different jobs, and one of them gets real seasonal, so I just don't have a lot of time to tinker and do maintenance and learn all that stuff. Like, I'll do oil changes, I'll change my batteries out, I'll swap out a tire on occasion, especially on a small dual sport tire like this, no big deal. But you know, I won't do like a street tire or anything like that because it's just too much work, but I get the concept. So I'll do things like that, chain tension, but there's a limit. You know, I don't have a lot of free time, and because of that, I want to spend that riding and not having issues and not tinkering. Plus, I don't even really like doing a lot of maintenance. Like, oil changes are fine and stuff like that, but it's not really, I just want to ride the thing. So that, combined with what I mentioned earlier about just always going for the smaller dual sport off-road when things like this, it just made a lot more sense. Ooh, I'm really lugging this thing. Woo. Yeah, here we go. Yes. I love this. It just made a lot more sense, though, you know, to have a dual sport. Now, I didn't intend on having the Rally and the XT side by side. The Rally was supposed to be a replacement for this. However, the thing is, this bike is just so fun. I mean, if you get a chance and you're on Facebook Marketplace and you see some XT 250, get it if you can. I mean, they're so fun. It's a type of bike you don't have to think about. You just get on and you go ride wherever you want, and it's going to handle everything, and you're going to have a great time, and it's simple. And this bike's never giving me problems. I mean, I'm only at 6,700 miles. It's not like I've done anything crazy, but I've done the full BDR with this thing, and no issues. Tons of fun. Another minor issue I had with the Africa Twin was the CarPlay situation. It never worked flawlessly. It worked okay about 70% of the time, but there was a handful of times where it just wasn't, it was buggy essentially. You know, the screen would glitch a little bit, kind of get pixelated, or it would turn on and then it wouldn't connect to things. And I had that thing for, you know, a few years, so I had a lot of time to play with it. I found little tricks here and there, like you turn it on, and if you don't want to connect to a headset, you can hold the back button, and all kinds of little things. And I tried a few things that you guys suggested, and all of them were helpful, but at the end of the day, every so often it just had little issues. It never worked very seamlessly, and so kind of just stopped using it. So not a big deal. I don't necessarily need CarPlay. I've been just mounting my phone these days, and that actually works a lot better for me, but that's something I would assume would be ironed out by now at this point. But you know, the bike I had was a 2021, so it was probably one of the earlier-ish ones that had the CarPlay unit in it, so it could have been related to that, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. And then also, I'm kind of one of those people where I don't know how much technology I want in my bikes. There are certain things I do appreciate. For example, I love a good cruise control, and when I don't have cruise control, I use one of these things. Like this is a Cramp Buster, is the actual brand name, but I do appreciate that. Heated grips, I like stuff like that because I do ride through the winter. But CarPlay is, that's kind of where I drew the line of, like, you know, this thing is really halfway towards being a car. So if it was wireless and it worked well, then perhaps that's something I could see myself using, because I could just keep my phone in my pocket. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in there. The electronics in general on that machine were subpar, for, in my opinion, at least on the bike I had from a company like Honda. Do I miss it? Yes, I miss all my bikes. In a perfect world, I would keep every single bike I've ever bought, but you know, I'm pretty average Joe over here. I just don't have that sort of space or income to support that. So, you know, I have to pick and choose and make wise purchases. And so, yeah, in a nutshell, it just wasn't suiting my needs. And it's an amazing machine. They got a lot of things right with that. You know, if you guys have been watching the channel, you know I am very much a proponent of the dual sport. I just think that where most people think they need an ADV, they really need a dual sport. I mean, this stuff is just so easy and fun to do on one. And I guess, you know, I've also owned a KLR previously, and so KLR, Himalayan, the 411 version, and the Himalayan was great. That's kind of more like a dual sport to me, but even though it's technically like tiny adventure, I think. But the KLR, same story. It's just it was every time I was on something like this, the weight of the bike just was another thought that would occupy my mind, and I'm thinking about choosing a path, but I'm also worried about the weight and standing and sitting. And this one, it feels just as comfortable to stand like this as it does to sit. Now I have risers on this one, so that's something to keep in mind as well, but I just don't really have to think much. You know, I can really focus on just riding and choosing a line, and the bike does the rest. So yeah, to summarize, that's why I sold the Africa Twin. I think dual sports and lighter ADVs do it better for stuff like this. And you've seen my bikes. I have lots of luggage on them, probably way more than I should for their weight tolerance, but it works. I've never had any issues doing that. Plus, this bike now has a milk crate on it, so it's like the most functional thing that ever existed. You can do so much with it. Thank you guys for those who subscribed and who are following along on this moto journey. Oh my god, these are deep. It's been fun. I really enjoyed making these videos, and man, I have one that I have to kind of tease early. I have found what I think is the best pair of motorcycle pants that I've ever used. But I'm gonna wait at least a few weeks to make that video, because I want to give these pants a certain try. Like, I want to give these pants a proper trial period, you know, and not just like, because right now I'm in the honeymoon phase with them, but they're pretty amazing. So I'm going to make a video about that. I also have some helmet reviews. I've been trying out some new helmets, so I have some thoughts on those, some Schuberth and Arai helmets. So that's coming down the queue. And then also I will be doing the 1,000-mile review on the Interceptor 650. There's been some updates there, and yeah, kind of mixed feelings there. So I'll give you guys the 1,000-mile review on that soon. Hope everyone rides safe, and I know it's getting colder out there, so definitely be aware of ice on the road and things like that. And I hope that the occasional warm day happens where you live, and you're able to get out there. I know some of you that just isn't going to happen, and in which case hopefully this moto vlog will entertain you a little bit to keep you occupied. I'll try to make as many videos as I can over the winter, because here in New Mexico it doesn't get too cold. I mean, it does, but the majority of the days are just chilly like this. So I'll see how many I can make for you guys. But yeah, ride safe, and we will catch up with you guys in the next one. Bye.